good afternoon, good evening, good night, good wherever you are in the world today. My name is Chris, and welcome back to D3, the Unofficial Digimon Podcast, the podcast where I am discussing each of the episodes of the 2020 reboot of Digimon Adventure. Just to start off, we are in a really odd predicament here because if you do not know, Digimon is on hiatus or it's postponed because of COVID-19. First 3 episodes have aired already, but right now they are not airing anymore for the foreseeable future. I think they're on lockdown now. I don't know why they weren't on lockdown earlier. I'm not sure if the cases weren't that bad or not. This is actually the second episode of the podcast where I'm discussing the second episode of the show. So that means we're technically gonna have 3 episodes of the podcast before it goes, I guess we go on hiatus as well, but I'm also planning on putting out an additional episode where I talk about the Frankenstein's monster that is the 2000 Digimon movie that came out here in America, the one where they spliced together 3 separate Japanese movies, threw them together and told American audiences this is the Digimon movie that y'all gonna get. There are a couple of things that I want to say about the previous episode. Firstly, if you haven't listened to the previous podcast, I suggest you listen to that before you hop into this one. That way you'll get my initial reaction from about the reboot and from the episode, the characters, the plot lines, etc. So there are actually 2 anime YouTubers that I watch. What's his name? Jeff Thu, I believe, My Mother's Basement, and Crispy Nats, and both of them discussed Digimon Adventure, not to quite great length. Jeff included it in his spring 2020 to watch list, and Chris Peanuts also included it on his to watch list as well. Mother's Basement literally loved the first episode of the series. I will insert what he said about the first episode in here, as well as Chris Peanuts's.
First episode of this 2020 reboot actually is nearly as great as I remember Digimon being. Its plot is tight, reworking Mamoru Hosoda's second Digimon film, Our War Game, into an origin story of sorts for Tai and Izzy. And I've gotta say that Someone's Hacking Tokyo is a lot more of a compelling place to start a story than Where Are We? Oh God, Giant Bug, Run Away. To none of the other characters in sight, we also have more time to get to know Tai and Izzy properly. Gogglehead gets to showcase the wild courage that defines him as he runs to rescue his mom and sister from an out-of-control train, inadvertently synchronizing his heart with Agumon in the process, while Izzy's wisdom is put to great use as he guides them through their first battle.
From what I remember, the original Digimon Adventure Season 1, they just kind of were at summer camp and then they got swept away. But this looks like it's he's on his way to summer camp and he gets swept away, which is very interesting. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Frontier in terms of they were all going somewhere and then they got on a train and then they were in the digital world. But my biggest hope is that they bring in Ryo Akiyama. Y'all probably recognize him from Tamers or Digimon Season 3, but he originally is an adventure character, fun fact, because he was introduced originally in some Digimon games back in the day. He was a protagonist. You could either play Tai or you could play him. So my hope is that with this new reboot, maybe they take that direction and maybe they introduce him here. In the canon of the games, he moves to the Tamers universe. He goes to a different universe. He fights this Digimon called Millenniummon because it's his partner / not his partner, because his partner is Cyberdramon. I forget the name. Him and Kenichi Joji are friends. Ken getting the dark spore in the back of his neck happens in Ryo's video game. So I'm hoping the adventure reboot leads to an O2 reboot, and it leads to, in between those, Ryo getting introduced, Ryo and Ken's story and their friendship and their young shit.
So when it came to Mother's Basements, I of course disagree with the fact that he said that they gave enough time for us to get to know Koshiro and Taichi in the first episode. I clearly disagreed with that if you watched the first episode of the podcast. But overall, I think I agreed with everything else that he said in that initial clip. When it came to Crispy Nats's take on it. I definitely do agree with his whole sentiment about people judging the series before they actually watch it. I know I felt like I kind of did that in the first podcast. I of course seen the first series and I loved the first series, and so I was just coming in there like, oh, is this supposed to be like the first series? But why isn't it like the first series when it's clearly a reboot? Maybe reassess how I'm approaching this. Like, I really need to get into my mind that I need to approach this as this is its own thing. This is separate. Despite any callbacks, any similar plot lines to the original Digimon Adventure, this is its own thing, and you need to treat it like its own thing. Yes, I may bring up a point or two like, hey, this is similar to the previous series. You need to remember that this is its own series, so you need to treat it as such. I also thought it was really interesting that he mentioned the one person from the games. What's his face? I do not remember his name. Begin with an R, I believe. Because I'm just like, that would be actually really interesting too if they brought him into the series. But that's later. I feel like that would be later on down the line. But it would be interesting to have 9 children instead of 8 and see how they would navigate that landscape. We could talk about that if it happens down the line. But let's actually hop into episode 2, which was titled Our War Game. Again, that is a throwback to, I think that's is that the first or the second Digimon movie? I think I want to say that it's like the very first Digimon movie, the very first Japanese Digimon movie, not the American cut and paste job that they gave us. I usually watch these episodes 3 times, 2 times to take in everything, and then a 3rd time to take notes. The first thing I wrote for my notes is Yamato is a little bitch. I'm sorry. I don't have any ill will towards Yamato at all. I don't hate Yamato's character. But the first thing I wrote down was he was a little bitch. But the thing is, you know what? Let's just continue. Okay, so just to give you a small recap of what happened at the end of episode 1, Taichi and Agumon were fighting this giant plant virus Digimon thing. Agumon digivolved into Greymon. Greymon handled his light work, took care of it, and then at the end of the episode, we see Yamato and Garurumon at the top of the little pillar thing. So we see Yamato, he has this smug, douchey look on his face. That's the only way that I can describe it as. And then Yamato and Taichi are looking at each other. Yamato and Garurumon jump off the thing, and then they attack 2 other of the virus Digimon that are just plaguing the place, and then they run off. Also, another thing that I wrote down is that they gave Yamato a grown man's voice. Like, why is his voice deeper than mine? I'm 28 years old, and I sound like sometimes I sound like a 12-year-old. Why is his voice at 10 sounding like he's a 30, 40, 50-year-old grown man with a job, a salary, a family? Why is he sounding like that? Like, they really gave him this gruff, I want to say they gave him like a Sasuke voice, because that's what it reminded me of. It very much reminded me of a tortured Sasuke character. Grown man, and I thought about Sasuke. Also, another thing, why is Garurumon's attack called Foxfire if he's a wolf? I'm not sure if that's how it was referred to in the original series or if this is a new thing. I know in the American dub it was, the English dub, the Fox Kids dub, it was Howling Blaster, which made more sense because he's a wolf and wolves howl, but he's not a fox, he's a wolf, so why is it called Foxfire? Also, it seemed like Garurumon and Greymon already knew each other, but it really didn't give me that indication in the end of the first episode. That's why I was just like, I was kind of confused. I wasn't sure if they were like, hey, do they know each other? Are they acquaintances? Are they actually friends? Do we know that they know each other? I'm not sure. Yamato and Garurumon run off. Taichi and Agumon go after them. Taichi finally catches up with them. He's just like, hey, he gives the log, teamwork speech. Hey, we were both Digimon. We both have Digimon. We're both in here. We should team up and we should fight. And Yamato just gives him like this disgusted look and this side eye. And I'm just like, why is he being such a douche? Why is Yamato being such a douche? And then I remembered in the previous episode, I said, why were they didn't have to be friends. They could easily just be rivals.
Perhaps we could become friends. I don't know. I think we should be enemies.
I don't know. I think we should be enemies.
I literally asked for this to happen, and look what the episode gave me. Yamato's not really trying to give Taichi anything at all, and he's just like, you know what, I want to do this on my own. I don't know you. I don't want to know you. Why are you here? Leave me alone. Also, I noticed that Yamato doesn't have his brown gloves in this series. Then Taichi introduces Koshiro to Yamato, and he's just like, oh, where is he coming from? Taichi says the name of the station, and Matt looks confused. He's just like, oh, do you not know where that is? Which then again goes back to the actually endings of the episodes, where we see Matt in the countryside in the rice paddy, so Matt might live in the boonies. Or they might be continuing the whole thing about their parents, him and TK's parents being divorced and them living in two different places. So maybe Matt lives in the countryside with his dad, and TK lives in the city with his mom or grandmom or whoever, and he's just not familiar with the area. One of the few things in this episode that I agreed with Yamato on was with Koshiro's information network. Because that was one of the things that bothered me about the first episode, was the fact that Koshiro knew all of this information, and Yamato brought up a really good point. So it's like, isn't this classified information? How are you getting all this information? That begs for him to the question like privacy and NDAs and government secrets and stuff like that. Are you hacking into these systems? But I wouldn't say I don't think he is, because he clearly says that he has a network of people that he talks to. And then that also brings into the question, aren't you 9, 10, 11 years old over here talking to these grown men and women? That doesn't seem suspicious. Like the government hasn't picked up on that. That just screams, police investigation, pedophile ring. Maybe I'm thinking into this a little bit too deeply, but just wanted to bring that up just for some food for thought. So another thing I wrote down is that Yamato just has a punchable face. I feel like I'm being so mean to Yamato in this episode, but he didn't make me mad, but I'm just like, he was really, really annoying. But I understand where it's coming from, but I'm just like, his character at this point in the series is just like, it's pretty much a turn off. I'm just like, ooh, are you really gonna be my least favorite character in this series? Are you? Yamato's just like, okay, you got all this information. I'm gonna introduce myself, and I'm going to use your information. Taichi, I don't know what you're doing. You could do your own thing over there. I don't care what you're doing. I like I said, I don't care for you. You came into my domain, and you are all up. You're fucking with me and my thunder. You know what? I'm going to go off. So he runs off again. He's just like, ugh. And then Taichi runs after him. Meanwhile, in the real world on Earth or whatever, there are more attacks going on, and this episode specifically focuses on a nuclear missile attack, where both Yamato and Taichi and Koshiro are trying to stop this nuclear missile from being launched and hitting some unknown target at this point. Koshiro's just like, okay, y'all two, this is happening. We need to find a way to stop it. Koshiro locates a route for them to get to where the disturbance is so they can stop the nuclear missile from going off. And we jump through a wormhole again. The animation, I guess it's a wormhole or a travel portal or whatever. Animation is beautiful for those sequences. I just love it. It's like they're swimming in like this digital ocean or digital sea. And we see more of the virus Digimon, and we also see this another plant virus Digimon thing. It's smaller than the last one, but then the last one again digivolved from one of the smaller ones into like the big tryptophobia triggering thing that we saw. They get to fighting. Taichi's over here helping Agumon. Yamato's over here doing his own thing. Yamato decides, we have to take this thing out. This is what I'm going to do. You follow suit, I guess. He doesn't really tell Taichi what he's about to do. He just assumes that he's going to catch on, which luckily he does. Well, not really Taichi who catches on. It's Greymon who's just like, hey, look, homeboy is open. So what are we going to do about this? So he runs. Well, both Taichi and Yamato, Garurumon, Greymon, go to opposite sides, and they go straight for the main plant Digimon thing after they take care of all the smaller ones. And they both charge and attack. The music is amazing. Again, the music in this series is like one of the high points. They are really marketing this. The way that they use this music, they're really marketing this to me as like a Saturday morning superhero cartoon, and I am here for it. Taichi thinks they got it. They think they got it, but Yamato's just like, no, you stop talking. Look. So then the plant digivolves into this giant, overgrown looking weed thing that looks like it's drooling and crying. It has like these two like big purple teardrop things and these glowing eyes and like jagged teeth looking things. I never get the names of these Digimon because they don't announce them in the episodes, and then I just don't do my due diligence and look them up afterwards. Greymon and Garurumon go and attack the thing. Taichi turns to Matt. I keep calling him Matt. Taichi turns to Yamato, and he's just like, we need to work together. We need to take it down together. And Yamato's just like, well, we tried taking it down together. And I'm just like, ooh, you's a little bitch. I'm just like, ooh, you really are rubbing me the wrong way. But again, I understand where it's coming from. Koshiro pops in. He's just like, hey, don't forget, this missile's coming. Y'all need to take care of it. Taichi is just like, hey, Matt, I know you have an idea. Which I felt like that was really random. I'm just like, how did you get that he had an idea? Did you just pull that out of your ass? It's just like, okay, you have an idea. What's the idea? It's just like, well, you're not going to like it. Or, well, I'm just paraphrasing. You're not going to like the idea. Garurumon and Greymon are getting their ass beat, so they bring them in. I'm assuming like that during that time they tell them the plan. They're just like, hey, we're just going to go with it. We don't really care if, whatever is going to happen. Whatever happens. We trust you. I put my trust in you. At least that's what Taichi says. And then they go for it. Then, of course, the music comes on. That build up with that music, that guitar riff, the trumpets. It's really triumphant, sorry. Garurumon and Greymon charge at the plant Digimon crying thing, and then they latch on to it, and then they blast it. Fly back because of the blast back, if you will. The plant virus weed looking thing like is burning up. It's laying there in a heat. We think, it's done. The episode's almost over, but wait, it's not. We see on Koshiro's computer, his timeline, that the Digimon still has vitals. It's still warm, And then the timer for the missile, because yes, there is a timer for the missile. They had like 2 minutes and 10 seconds in order for them to stop the missile from launching. But nope, it's still going. It's still going. It's still going. He lets Taichi and Yamato know, hey, it's not done yet. It's not done yet. The wee Digimon gets up, and then we see like the little glyphs. It's digivolving. It's digivolving again. I literally got chills. This part of the episode was lit. Like, this part of the episode was just like, okay, y'all really are doing something with this series. I'm sorry that I doubted y'all from the first episode. The music stops, all the talking stops. All we hear is the counting down of the last few seconds of this missile timer. We see expressions of Yamato, Taichi, Koshiro, and then it gets louder and louder, and then it just drops, and then we see the missile launching into the sky from the submarine. Koshiro's voice, he's just like, the missile has been launched. And then we are greeted with the fully digivolved form of this plant Digimon. I want to go out on a limb and say it is Diaboromon. Do not quote me on that. I could be completely wrong, and I do apologize if I am, but the way that those eyes looked and the head design looked, that reminded me of Diaboromon from the movie. He is large, he is assuming, it is just, it's like, again, chills. We go back to Koshiro after we get the look, we get the initial look of Diaboromon. He's just like, so guys, that missile that just launched? It's coming for Tokyo. So, y'all kind of fucked. Well, he doesn't say that again. I'm paraphrasing. Y'all fucked. We're fucked. What are we going to do? If y'all going to do something, y'all need to do something now. Then Diaboromon just gives out this loud, blood-curdling, chill-inducing scream. It sends shockwaves throughout the atmosphere, because we see it actually it literally shakes the 4 that are there. It was just like, oh shit, this is some scary shit, in my Brenda voice from Scary Movie. We see this great shot of Taichi looking at Diaboromon ? Like I said, I don't know if this is him. Get this great shot of him looking up at him. It's just like, oh wow. They the shot composition is in these episodes is really good. Those one frame shots, those are really good here. Diaboromon attacks. He does this giant vine whip thing or whatever, and he just sends them all back. They are battered, they're bruised, they're injured. We get this feeling, oh, there's no hope. What are we going to do? And that's where I thought we were going to end. I really thought that was where we were going to get a cliffhanger ending. We see TK, and then we see Hikari. Hikari's got off the train earlier in the episode with her mother from the train accident fiasco that happened in the first episode. They're fine now. It looks like they're either walking home or walking towards the lesson that they were supposed to be going to at first. Feathers falling from the sky. And then once I saw that, I'm just like, oh wow, we're really going to get this so early. We're getting this really, really early. But it seems like they're trying to hit the points of the movies in these first 3 episodes, just so people can be caught up. If you've seen the first series, you'll know oh yeah, there's still some switch ups, but this is beat for beat the actual Our War Game movie. So we see the angel feathers fall down. We see Hikari and TK put out their hands, they catch it. We see flashes of the crest of light and the crest of hope. I hope that's right. It is Hope and Light, right? Yes. Hope and Light. Yamato and Taichi's Digivices light up with their crests, and we see these red, orange, and blue lights around the Digivices. Diaboromon looks like they're about to blast them off. Fushiro's screaming. He screams Taichi's name. He's just like, oh shit, this is over. This is like, they're done. There's no way that they can survive this. And then when he looks at the computer screen afterwards, we see a digi-egg with the glyphs surrounding it, or made up of the glyphs in the digital world. And he's just like, what the hell is that? Again, he doesn't really say that, paraphrasing. And then once the egg unwraps, I guess, or hatches, I would say hatch, we see Omnimon. And I'm just like, ooh, my fanboy came out. My 10-year-old just jumped out of me. I'm just like, oh my gosh, the cape reveal, the arm reveal, the body reveal. I'm just like, okay, come through, skinny legend, Omnimon. Okay, we see you. The lights in his eyes flash, and we also see the red and blue like star flashes next to him, so I'm assuming those are Tai Chi and Yamato, and that is where the episode ends. For me, this was a lot better than the first episode. I felt like we got a lot better setup, the pacing was a lot better, the action for the most part was about the same. I didn't really have an issue with the action in the first episode, but felt like everything was well paced. I felt the dramatic tension. I actually cared about what was going on. They actually gave me a reason to care about this missile about to hit Tokyo, in comparison to where I really just did not care about the whole train about to crash. As much as I gave Yamato flack for everything that he did in this episode, his character served its purpose. There was inner conflict, which I did enjoy, which is what Digimon is known for. It's not just, we're all one big happy family. There is conflict amongst the group, and the conflict helps the story and it helps the characters grow. So I like that we actually got that earlier on in the series, even though, again, Yamato's character is just so irky to me. The Omnimon reveal, again, was just spectacular. Ending of this episode was just top tier to me. The only two things in this episode that I wouldn't say it's like they bothered me as much as it's just like, we could have easily that could have easily helped the episode, elevated the episode even further, is one. I'm going to sound really hypocritical, especially after what I said in the last episode. Make Yamato less of a little douchebag. Just a little bit. He could at least address Tai Chi earlier on in the episode and not just look at him like he's just a bug on his shoe. Just acknowledge that he's there. You don't have to be a little dick and just be like, oh, you're here, you're cramping my style, I'm a loner, I do everything alone, I don't have friends. And second is that y'all could have made us squirm a little bit more. Like, we didn't necessarily have to see Omnimon in this episode. At the end of this episode, we could have easily left it at the missile about to hit Tokyo, or we could have left it at them about to be blasted away. And then I felt like that would have really cemented the episode as just like, oh shit, the stakes are now raised. So now that we have that done, I'm just wondering where they do plan on going with the rest of the series, because of course they still have to fight Diaboromon, and I don't know if that is going to be in one episode fight and they're going to wrap it up, put it in a little bow, and then they're going to move on to bringing in the rest of the children. Are we actually going to see them go to summer camp? Or is it going to be, are we going to get a small time skip, like a couple of years into the future, and then they're going to go to summer camp? Is there even going to be a summer camp involved in the story at all? Are we literally going to just hop right into it after they fight Diaboromon? But I'm actually really excited to see what they do with it now, because this episode was just that good to me. I really, really, really enjoyed it. This episode was really short, wasn't it? Well, not this actual episode, but the episode of the podcast was really short. Because, like I said, I really didn't have many things that I thought were wrong with this episode. Again, I'm still kind of worried about how they're going to treat Koshiro's character because, again, it just seems like he's going to be a super smart info dump, which I don't want for his character. I want the development, I want the growth, I want the struggle for his character. I want it for all the characters, but especially for his character because I'm seeing it just not being utilized as well as I really want it to. Other than that, I'm just like, okay. Well, I guess we can end it here. I do appreciate y'all listening to this podcast. I will not take as long to do the next 2 episodes, so hopefully y'all will get those within the next 2 weeks. I appreciate y'all. This podcast is on a number of different platforms. We are on Google Podcasts, we are on Spotify, we are on SoundCloud, we are on YouTube. I believe we're also on a couple of other podcasting apps that I'm not too familiar with, but I would appreciate if you know any other people who are into Digimon or just like podcasts in general. Maybe they want to give a listen to this, give me some feedback, give me some comments. I'm always here to grow. And I will see you guys soon with episode 3.